I call it the fruit bowl initiative, right? There's a fruit bowl in the break room, but that doesn't do it. Like that's not wellness. So things like step challenges, gym discounts, yeah, a meditation app. And it's not that there's anything wrong with those things, but that's not a wellness initiative. That's not being truly proactive.
Welcome to Health Decoded, your number one source for real health information with your hosts, Dr. Alessi and Matt Tack.
Welcome to Health Decoded with your host, Matt Tack. I am not alongside Dr. Alfred Alessi today. Actually have a guest in here that I'm really excited about, Jim Horning. Jim Horning is our Director of Wellness and Execution at Alessi Functional Health. Now I should say Ascend Functional Health. So I'm really excited to have him with us today in the podcast. So I just want to welcome everyone back. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. So we're going to be talking to HR leaders, executives, and decision makers, and honestly, really anybody that really thinks corporate wellness is important. So those people are responsible for the things that are getting harder every year, building a productive, more engaged, and healthier workforce. So if you're dealing with the rising insurance cost, employee burnout, turnover, disengagement, this episode definitely is for you. So I'm joined by, again, Jim Horning, our Director of Wellness at Ascend Functional Health, who leads our corporate wellness initiatives. And today we're going to unpack why corporate wellness is no longer a nice to have. It's a strategic necessity in the workforce today. So Jim, how are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on the famed podcast. But this is one of my favorite topics. So I'm excited to launch into it. We see firsthand what happens when companies stop reacting to health problems and they start investing proactively in their people. So great topic. I'm ready.
For sure. So let's dig in. We're going to be talking about the real cost of an unhealthy workforce. So, at the end of the day, we always start with a problem. Like, what is the problem? Because most companies don't realize how expensive poor health it actually is. And we're not just talking about insurance premiums. We're talking about absenteeism, presenteeism. That's a big word that we talk about. Low energy, burnout, disengagement. And at the end of the day, just turnover that you don't like to have. Retention is one of your biggest thing within the workforce today. So most employers are paying more every year for health insurance, number one, yet their workforce is getting sicker and not healthier.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that is the paradox, right? Companies spend more, but they're not seeing better outcomes. And what we consistently see is this, like employees are exhausted, stress is through the roof. There's preventable conditions like back pain. You got your office workers for sure. We hear that a lot. Metabolic issues, anxiety, inflammation, everything's driving claims. And people feel like their employer doesn't actually care about their health. It might not be true, but that's the perception. And then oftentimes the reality with certain organizations. They're like, well, they don't care how I feel. They just care about my output. And we're seeing that across the board.
Yeah. And when, employees don't feel cared for, they become disengaged at the end of the day. And then what do they do after that? They likely leave, or worse, you have this silent quitting now, which they just stay on and they stay and become underperforming for a period of time before they eventually are let go. So have you seen that?
Yeah, hands down. It's epidemic, really. And an unhealthy workforce is one of the biggest hidden liabilities on a company's balance sheet. They don't look at it strategically, but that's part of the balance sheet. Yeah.
100%. It directly affects the bottom line to everything. So, as we dig in, why like traditional corporate wellness typically fails, most companies think they have a wellness program. You talk about this all the time. They think they have a wellness program. Well, we do this and the insurance, they rebate for this. And, we might have a couple $1,000 that we spend on them. But let's be honest, like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I call it the fruit bowl initiative, right? There's a fruit bowl in the break room, but that doesn't do it. Like that's not wellness. Uh, so things like step challenges, gym discounts, yeah, a meditation app. And it's not that there's anything wrong with those things, but that's not a wellness initiative. That's not being truly proactive.
Exactly. These programs are like they're check a box,
Yeah,
but they don't like actually change the behavior. They don't reduce the amount of claims that the company has, and they honestly don't make employees at the end of the day feel supported in their endeavor, right?
right.
Whatever it is, right? I think it's important even at work to have this balance of you're engaging them with work activities, but then you're also engaging them with something outside of it that's creating healthy habits.
Exactly. It can't be generic because that's the problem, right? They're disconnected from real health outcomes. They don't meet employees where they actually are. So you get proactive, you're going to make a difference. A burned out employee doesn't need another email about drinking more water. That's not going to cut it. They need support, structure, accountability, and access to care. And that's strategic on the business front. You're thinking of your own ROI when you do that. It isn't just to be nice. You want to be the top of the top, and that is going to be important when you're trying to affect those that are burned out or nearing burnout.
And that's where, most wellness initiatives fall apart. That no infrastructure, the big part that we always talk about, no data. How do you collect the data? Where's the data associated? Their data and everything else, maybe in their marketing and everything, their P&L and their expenses at the bottom line, but like there's no engagement, there's no data associated to that. How do you get that data? How do you get that feedback? So as we shift from like, okay, what isn't working to the benefits to actually care about your employees, this is where, our true conversation begins here.
Yeah.
The most forward thinking companies are no longer asking, what benefits can we offer? But they're asking, how can we physically take care of our people? Like, what does that mean? And what does that look like?
That's the key difference. So, and well put, what do we do at Ascend Functional Health? We build wellness initiatives that are structured, that are data driven. That is huge. We don't want to put blinders on anything that we do business wise, right? We want to see what we're doing and what the outcomes are. So data driven is definitely part of our wellness initiative. Mobile is very important, and integrated into the employee experience. Or we don't want to just stack it on top of everything. Like here's just another thing, boom, put on top and weigh everything down. No, we want to integrate it into the employee experience.
Yeah, that's experience is our word of the year this year at Ascend Functional Health. I keep saying Alessi, Ascend Functional Health. I got to get used to the formerly Alessi Functional Health, now Ascend. But our word of the year is experience for the simple fact that it's your life is an experience, right? And I always go back to how do we make our life that experience that we want to make it? And I always go back to the quote from James Clear in the book Atomic Habits.
Great
We
point.
don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And that just rings true for me. It's been a motto that I've tried to live by my life is how am I incorporating more habits that allow me that are in the systems at which I operate to experience life more fully. And that's where collecting these structured, data-driven, mobile, integrated for the employee experience, how they ring true and how you can benefit your employees. But this isn't about removing responsibility either, though, from the employees. It's really about empowering them to make that difference.
Yeah. Ownership is everything, right? And then we have more confidence when we have that ownership. So when employees feel better, physically, mentally, everything improves. Right. Everything that they're involved in at work, not even just the wellness. So their focus, their energy, productivity, morale. Everyone talks about culture. Like, we don't have a good culture. We do have a good culture. Well, team connection is really the foundation of culture. We want everybody to be connected, understand one another. And like you said, understand one another's experiences. Well, how great would that be if the wellness initiative caused them to work together and to create this team dynamic? So healthy employees don't just work harder; they work smarter, they work longer, and the key word, they work with purpose. So
Purpose is such a critical word,
it's
right?
huge. Yeah.
Across the board, purpose. How are we purpose driven in everything we do? So, how corporate wellness reduces insurance costs, because that ultimately is where the big red flag is, that we always talk to businesses. They're like, man, our insurance costs are just bleeding us.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the metric every executive really cares about. And that's overall is going to be like, how do I reduce my insurance claims?
Yeah. And that's where it becomes strategic, right? And it's financial strategy. It's not an expense. So, like you said, with the what comes to mind immediately for me, because I was just talking with an executive regarding the diabetic claims costs and how that one chronic condition alone is bleeding out. They're self-funded. They're just paying out, constantly. Like we need a solution because high cost claims come from preventable or manageable conditions. So musculoskeletal issues, the metabolic disease, chronic stress and inflammation, poor recovery and mobility, all of these things need to be at the forefront of an organization if they want to be strategic financially.
Yeah. And when you intervene early, I will say it's never too late, but when you get there early, when you improve that movement, recovery, nutrition, and stress resilience, claims naturally, what do? They likely are going to go down.
Yep. They're going to go. And that's exactly what we want to see. It's just as important. Utilization shifts, right? So employees stop waiting until something breaks and instead they engage in care proactively. You're creating these micro habits, if you will. It's going to grow. It's going to infiltrate not only their work, but their personal life. And that's cheaper. It's more effective. It's sustainable. It really is. Strategy just keeps coming to mind whenever I talk about this with organizations. Think of the big picture, how it's going to affect the individual and the organization as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, corporate wellness isn't about spending more, it's purely about spending smarter.
Exactly.
And that's, life. How are you making adequate deposits into your savings account, right? To get a return on what you're putting into that. And then ultimately, like the business and the longevity of the business, that is the saving accounts long term.
Right. And when one thing, yeah, because this kind of the bridge between spending smarter, like you just stated, and having that ideal culture, right? You're investing into your people. And one of the most overlooked benefits of corporate wellness is culture, right? We want to create this cultural dynamic. So when employees participate in wellness initiatives together, something powerful happens. So spend smarter because you're going to see a result on that culture side and then ultimately health wise for your entire employee base. You're going to become a coveted company to be at or to stay at, which is also really important. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's, there's the level of you maximize. It's like it can't go wrong philosophy in this case. Like insurance costs likely, you do it long enough, right? The insurance costs go down and then you get an ROI in your people and you have rising revenues. So literally the bottom line is you make a lot more money overall when you engage in your people. That's really important to think about how you're spending money smarter with corporate wellness and engaging into your workforce and making sure your people just feel cared for, number one, but they are becoming healthier. And that's the true emphasis of what a good quality corporate wellness program looks like.
Yeah.
So let's dig into a little bit about the engagement, the culture, the retention piece of what we do at Ascends Functional Health and how we aid in small businesses.
I mean, we look ideally at, you say small businesses, and I'm part of even a small business committee with the chamber. So I get to see firsthand a lot of what's happening in those 25 to 50 employee count all the way up into the hundreds as well. And just how that culture will affect. We always think global, like, oh, the big companies have great culture. Those small companies want great culture, right? They also want that, but they may be more limited, what they can invest. So we like to come in and say, well, let's plan this together. Let's look at smart ways that we can copy the big dogs, right? But create this enviable culture, even for the smaller organizations. And most notably, Matt, especially Tampa Bay right now, right? We're really invested in our community, but it's here and beyond. So we're really looking at whether it's a small, organization, a small business. We want that team bonding. We want morale to improve. We want people to feel invested in, like you said, and supported, not just managed, not just here's your to-do list, but really invested in to make a difference on that small front who may feel overwhelmed. They don't know how to begin. They don't know what it means. To come in and plan alongside them and show them this is perfect for your organization as well.
Yeah, it becomes an overall shared experience, not just like a benefit. I remember working at Accenture, and we didn't have a wellness program. There's no wellness initiatives, large organization, right? And so it becomes, even for somebody like that, it's almost moving the Titanic when, you do a corporate wellness initiatives with 120,000 employees, much more manageable when it becomes like 50 to 300, even 400 and 500, more manageable in the process of creating something. You're in a little bit smaller boat. You can create culture and retention and more community that way. But I remember they spent majority of their dollars taking us out drinking. And we would have these happy hours and kind of these elaborate ways of, they would just want to entertain us. And that's what they thought, proper culture and retention looked like. We're taking us out for happy hours and feed us some hors d'oeuvres. And we're flipping the script on that and saying, hey, why is that? Why is it that you think a happy hour and hors d'oeuvres is what's going to create your company culture? When you could have something that they're more engaged, you're creating a healthier lifestyle and workforce for your employees, and they ultimately get the long benefit because they're able to engage better with their families. Maybe they're able to become better parents, better daughters, husbands, whatever it might be. And that is ultimately what we're trying to, it's not just like the shared experience internally within the organization, but you want them to be happy outside of the organization as well. And so that's where I feel like that just engagement, culture, and retention is so impactful, is that when you can have them walk out of your doors and be just as happy as walking into your doors, man, you're doing something pretty powerful.
Yeah, that is powerful. It's the fastest way to build loyalty, right? Invest in someone's health, because they aren't just thinking about work all the time as much as the, those in leadership may want them to, right? But they've got weddings to attend. They have grandchildren they want to be able to lift up in the air or go play with at the park, or, be able to stay around long enough to see, that coveted granddaughter get married, there's real skin in the game for their life, for their longevity. You invest in that, you've just created a loyalty that's unmatched. It is, again, I got to say it, it's strategy, but it's also just doing the right thing.
Yeah. And retention follows, because people don't leave companies that take care of them.
Exactly.
People do not leave companies that they genuinely love. In fact, I've seen a lot of people take discounts on what they potentially could earn because I'm just in too good a spot. They care about me too much, where I could make money elsewhere, but I stay here because we have a bond, and we have a bigger vision involved here.
Exactly. You bring up a really good point, just for me to add that retention is so important, but you also become the honey that's going to attract, because there are folks out there who are looking, where can I work where they would care about me? And in a market like we have, you were attracting the right kind of team member that's really going to make a difference for your company. This is also perfect, not only for retention, but for in recruiting, for in being able to draw in the right team that's going to make a difference. So it's win-win.
Yeah, I'm going to steal your tagline here of something that you say, but the fastest way to build loyalty is to invest in someone's health,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah.
It's you can give them the happy hours, you can give them the hors d'oeuvres, you can give them even like a pay raise, you can give them more paid time off, but if you give them health, you are giving them something exponentially more that they are depositing into their own bank account. So let's dig into now who corporate wellness is actually for. So this is especially impactful for this episode, small to medium sized businesses, right?
Right.
We target 50 employees ideally and up, where every hire matters, especially that early in the game. You're 50 employees and up. You're stable, not massively big, but you're there and you're really trying to make an impact. That's where every hire really truly matters, that you can retain them.
Yeah. And we touched on it a little bit, but like these companies don't have massive HR departments or unlimited budgets, right? So, but they want solutions, and they need solutions that are turnkey, that are scalable, that are measurable. Yeah. And that's what we provide. We do the heavy lifting in that regard.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we built. So
Right.
an infrastructure that allows companies to deploy real wellness through challenges without the added complexity of you need to do this, this, and this. We need to have 15 meetings to make this happen. Right. And every employee needs to do this, this, and this. It's taking out that complexity and really adding a clean, scalable approach to the wellness initiative.
100%. At the end of the day, right, the best thing you can give your employees isn't another perk, right?
Yeah. The other perk, I go back to my time with Accenture, like they had these points. It was like a point structure at the end of the day. And, it was kind of cool, but you could buy different things in this like store.
Right.
And so like the amount of points you collected, you could go in there and you could, buy yourself a golf set or go buy something else. And I just I probably don't know where any of that stuff is anymore. Yeah. I have no idea what happened to it, but it was the perk, but didn't really create like any level of culture. And I will say, I really enjoyed my time at Accenture, and I took things from it that we actually implement even today at Ascend. But they spent majority of their engagement not on anything associated to the wellness of our employees and how we can get them more engaged and how we can retain them through a mindset approach to build and properly build habit structures for the longevity of their health.
Right.
And that's really what we built in. It really just comes down to health, like true physical health of your employees, because healthy people show up differently every day, hands down. Mm-hmm. At work, at home, and in life, all three of those things, if you have a healthy employee, they will show up better for you every single day.
Yeah, 100%. And when the workforce thrives, your business follows. So it's just a given.
Yeah, the business does absolutely follow everything. It's when you have a stable workforce, your sales guys are just healthier. Your ops guys are healthier. Your HR, I shouldn't say guys and gals. I don't want to leave out anyone here. But both of those drive success towards the business. And that's ultimately, we know, if you're a business owner listening in, or even if you're an employee listening in, if you're an HR rep listening in, how much value, and I think about this from even employee standpoint, if you're an employee, listen to this, because how important it is for you to start embedding these things at work. And maybe it's you bringing this up to your CEO and saying, hey, I think I really would enjoy you guys thinking about building in some sort of corporate wellness into the infrastructure of our DNA, because it's made an impact on me over this last year that I've made a decision for my health. And I really want this to be a DNA. And maybe you can even be that ambassador for your organization. So if you're just listening into this podcast because you love the Health Decoded podcast, and you're an employee, I'd recommend, hey, how can you talk? How can you come up with ideas to entertain your C-suite or the CEO or the president or even your HR to say, hey, I would really like to help out in incorporating some level of corporate wellness so that the entire workforce can thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you're an HR leader and executive looking to reduce your insurance cost, improve engagement, and build a healthier workforce, I would recommend reaching out to us at Ascend Functional Health. You'll be talking to Jim. He would love to talk to you about everything that entails and give you a little bit more detail. And Jim's the type of guy which I love Jim because he's no nonsense and he's going to tell you, hey, it's a good fit, it's not a good fit. But that is ultimately, if you are interested in anything associated to corporate wellness and building a healthier workforce, I would recommend you getting in touch with Jim. So at the end of the day, this is our episode with Health Decoded. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode. And make sure, as always, if you're listening in, please like, subscribe, share this with somebody who needs to hear it. We always love getting your feedback. So if you have any questions you'd like to answer, email us at info@alessiafxhealth.com. Until next time, it's your co-host, Matt Tack, and Health Decoded. As always, your health is in your hands.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Decoded, where we break down the truth about all things health and empower you to take charge of your well-being. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. For more resources and personalized support, visit us at alessifunctionalhealth.com and sign up for our newsletter. To hear your questions answered live on the show, send them to ask@alessiafxhealth.com. That's ask@alessifxhealth.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your health is in your hands.